G'day Year 10. Welcome to Geography Online Learning for the start of Semester 2 in Term 3. I'd really encourage everyone to get stuck into online learning as best you can. Really reap the benefits that it has to offer and just try your best. That's all we can ask. So what I'm going to talk to you about in the video for this week is the geography grades to start off with, and then I'm going to move on to your lesson activities for this week that I'd like you to complete. So the very first thing we're going to talk about today is geography grades. So I want you guys to note that you will not be receiving any formal marks for geography this year. Instead, you will receive a grade, either an A, B, C, D, or an E, A being the highest level of achievement and E being the lowest level of achievement. So it's not like both subjects where you're going to get an actual mark. Any assessment task that you do will just get a grade, like you see in the movies, an A, B, C, D, or E. The reason behind that is we're really looking at assessing your skill over time, and we feel in geography the best way to do that is with a grade rather than an actual mark, because what a grade does is it gives a much more in-depth descriptor of what it is that you've actually achieved, as opposed to just a raw number or mark. I'll get more into those descriptors later. The second point I really want to make clear is that you guys are going to be assessed with grades-based learning, is that you're going to be assessed throughout the entire term at various points. So you're not necessarily just going to be graded on your assessment tasks only. You're also going to be graded on your classwork. So at various points throughout our learning this semester, we're going to have a lot of classroom activities that are going to count towards what we call your formative assessment, which is a fancy way of saying learning as you go. So not only are we going to have some assignments that we're still going to mark and you'll get a grade for, we are also going to have some in-class sort of activities that we're going to do, and that's going to allow us, which leads into our next point, to have multiple opportunities to demonstrate your skill in achieving your personal best grade. So what this means is that, say with a normal assignment, you just get your mark and that's it, right? And we're going to be doing that with some grades, but we also thought, let's show off your skill in classwork as best we can. So what that's going to look like is that in class you're going to have multiple opportunities across many different lessons to demonstrate your skill and mastery of different learning outcomes. So that might look like, let's say you get a C in your first in-class task and you go, oh, I probably could have done better there. You're going to get another chance to improve your mark, and if you get a B the next time, then your final grade for that's going to look and sit at a B, okay, not the C that you first got. So really encouraging you guys to try your best and achieve your personal best. Now, if you're pushing for that top A grade descriptor there, you've just got to make sure that you're consistent in your application to maintain this grade. So while I said earlier, if you got a C at first and then you got a B, you're going to stick with the B in your report. If you get an A and then a C and then a C, to maintain that A grade, you're really going to have to show us that you're consistent in your application over time, because that's part of what an A grade student does. So I hope that explains a little bit about the geography grades there. If you're still not sure, feel free to email your teacher, or just rewind this video and watch it again if you missed something. Now, what do those grades actually look like? I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I just really want to get you guys familiar with the sort of language that we're going to be using. So if you're an A-level student, you're going to show us, and I've highlighted all the keywords here in yellow for you, that you have extensive knowledge and understanding. So what this means is that you have a very high level of skill in geography and that you can apply these skills to new situations. And you've got to be able to maintain that across multiple different tasks there. B is having a thorough knowledge. So something that's extensive is you pretty much know it back to front. Okay, you're getting in the 90th to 100th percentile there, and you're doing really, really well. Thorough means that you know pretty much everything. There's just a few little details and skills that are missing there. So that's still a really good grade to get there as well. And then the further we move down, we've got sound, basic, and then limited there. So as best we can, I want everyone to try and push for those top 2 grades if we can. But remember, if your personal best is a C, then that's really great as well. That's all we ask for you guys to do, is to try your best. Okay, so now with those grade scales talked about, I want to talk to you about what you've got to do this lesson. So you will have in your Google Classroom a to-do list, and the first thing on that to-do list is to watch this video, which you're doing now, which is fantastic. The second thing I want you to do is read the scope and sequence documents that we've attached and the assessment schedule documents. Now I'll explain what these are very briefly. So when you open this up, you're going to get two different scope and sequences. So what a scope and sequence is just letting you know what we're going to study and when we're going to study it. Now this was the semester 1 when you guys were doing history, so just ignore that one and scroll down to the bottom where you see semester 2, the keyword there, and terms 3 to 4. So what we're going to study this term for most of term 3 up until week 8 is what we call human well-being, and that's looking at, as the name suggests, different ways that we measure things like happiness, wealth and poverty across the world, across many different scales. And so we're going to be looking at that for the first 8 weeks, and then later on we're going to switch to environmental change and management. So that's really looking at pressing issues like climate change and human-induced climate change and what we can do to help combat those sort of issues. And that'll lead us for most of term 4, when then we'll come back to human well-being towards the end there. Anything highlighted in red indicates where an assessment task is due. So that's for you to note down in your diary or your phone or your calendar or whatever it is that you're using to keep track of that. The teachers will also remind you when they're close to being due. So our first assessment task will be in week 10 of term 3 and then week 4 of term 4. Okay. With those assessment tasks, that's where the assessment task schedule comes in handy. So this is saying a lot of the same information we saw in the scope and sequence there in terms of when it's due. What we've got here are the two different types of assessment I was talking about. So summative assessment is your sort of traditional assignments where you submit it, your teacher will mark it, we'll give it a grade, and then we give it back to you. And then your formative assessment are the in-class tasks that we're going to do over a few different weeks. That's going to give you guys a chance to really prove your stuff and that you can achieve at the highest level possible over multiple weeks. So that's really exciting. So I really hope that you guys take that opportunity to try your best there. Similar to this first one, you're going to have to scroll down till you see semester 2 there. So how I want you to sign on for those documents there is by clicking the link on the third step on your to-do list, which is attached to the Google Classroom post. And this Google form should come up. So what this form is saying is just that you acknowledge that you've seen these documents, that you've read them, you understand when your assessments are going to be due. And usually we do those sign-off sheets like we do at school, but because we're in online learning and COVID, we're going to get you to do that online. So what I would like you guys to do is open this form up and complete it. So I'll do it as an example. So write your full name, then select what class you are, and I've written in brackets who your teacher is to help you find that as well. But hopefully you know your class by now. So just hit whichever one's relevant to you. It's really important that you select the right class there, okay? And then you're just ticking yes or no. Have you received, understand the content, and are able to access both the assessment schedule and scope and sequence documents? Yes or no. So if you hit yes, there's no need to answer this question and you can just hit submit. If you don't understand that, can you hit no and then write why, and then your teacher will be able to see that and get in contact with you and explain those documents to you in a bit more detail. Okay. As for that, that's the end of this video. If there's any other activities on Google Classroom that your teacher has asked you to do, make sure you get those done, and I'll see you next week for the next video. Bye.